The Giants have hired Joe Schoen as their next GM. Schoen was previously the assistant GM for the Buffalo Bills. Joe Schoen will take over for David Gettleman, who retired 2 weeks ago. Gettleman had been in the Big Apple since 2017 and went an abysmal 19-46 during his tenure as the GM for the Giants. It'll be a big challenge for Schoen as he takes over for an organization that has struggled since winning the Super Bowl in 2011/2012. The Giants parted ways with head coach Joe Judge 2 weeks ago. Judge was in New York for 2 seasons and went 10-23. Since Tom Coughlin was relieved of his duties in 2015, the Giants have only made the playoffs once and have had 3 head coaches in 6 years. The 4-time Super Bowl champions have the 5th and 7th pick in this year's draft. After the hiring became official, this is what Giants co-owner John Mara had to say about Schoen. Throughout our search, Joe impressed us with his abilities to communicate a progressive and comprehensive vision for our team. His philosophy and collaborative approach to building a roster and coaching staff align with what we were looking for in a general manager. Other finalists for the jobs were new Bears GM Ryan Poles and 49ers Adam Peters. Other co-owner Steve Tisch had this to say about Schoen. Joe is the kind of exceptional leader we sought to oversee our football operations. We will do whatever it takes to support Joe's vision and strategy plan for success. Schoen had been in Buffalo since 2017 and helped build a winner out of the franchise that had not made the playoffs in 17 years. Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott, and Joe Schoen helped the Bills become a great franchise again with drafting the likes of Josh Allen, Devin Singletary, Dawson Knox, Tremaine Edwards, and Jordan Pryor. They also signed All-Pro Stephon Diggs and Micah Hyde. This is what Schoen had to say about what the Giants need to do in order to get better. Now the work begins. My immediate focus is to hire a head coach with who I will work in lockstep with to create a collaborative environment for our football operations. We will cast a wide net. It can be former head coaches, former first head coaches, but most importantly, it has to be a person who possesses the ability to lead an organization and the ability to motivate and develop players. Before he was at Buffalo, Schoen was at Carolina and Miami. He was first an intern for the Panthers ticket office. He was then in the Dolphins organization and worked closely under GM Chris Greer. Even former Giants head coach Bill Parcells was very impressed with Schoen when he was the Dolphins VP. After leaving Miami, he became the assistant GM for the Bills from 2017 to 2021. Schoen went to college at DePaul University in Indiana for 4 years and played quarterback and wide receiver. He graduated with a degree in communications. Before the Giants hired Brian Daboll, Bills defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier was also a frontrunner to land the job. The Bills were eliminated last Sunday, 2 weeks ago, in the playoffs after losing to the Chiefs in overtime in the divisional round. Schoen will have to win right away. He will also have tough decisions to make about fourth-year quarterback Daniel Jones and 2018 Offensive Rookie of the Year Saquon Barkley. Former Dolphins head coach Brian Flores was another one in the running for the job before they decided on Daboll. Flores is from New York, and he would have loved to come back home. Schoen and Daboll better be ready to win now, or the fans will continue to hate on the organization. The Bears have a new GM as well. On Tuesday evening, it was reported that the Bills had hired former Chiefs executive of player personnel Ryan Poles. Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network was the first to report the news of the Bears hiring Poles as GM. He replaced Bears former GM Ryan Pace, who was fired 2 weeks ago after they finished the season 6-11. Poles had been in Kansas City for the last 13 years as a personal assistant in 2009, and then getting promoted to assistant director of player personnel in 2018. He eventually got promoted to his current position as an executive of player personnel in 2021. The 36-year-old new GM for the Bears was an undrafted free agent in 2008. He played at Boston College from 2004 until 2007 as an offensive tackle. Poles then signed with the Bears practice squad, but was later released before the season began. Poles then returned to Boston College, where he became a recruiting assistant in 2008. After he was hired, this is what Poles had to say about becoming the next GM for the Chicago Bears. I'm extremely grateful to George and the entire family and the rest of the Bears organization for this opportunity. The Chicago Bears are one of the flagship franchises in the National Football League and are recognized as one of the most prestigious clubs in all of sports. It's an honor for me to join such a well-regarded organization. Together with my family, I'm looking forward to hitting the ground running to help get this organization, its fan base, and the city what they deserve. a winning team, and a Super Bowl trophy. In his second day on the job, he hired Colts defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus as their next head coach. The Bears' previous coach, Matt Nagy, was with the Bears from 2018 to 2021, went 34-33, and was 0-2 in the postseason during his tenure in the Windy City. The former Boston College product will have a lot to work with ahead of him as he tries to bring the Bears back to prominence. With the Bears hiring a minority as their next GM, the Chiefs will receive 2 compensatory draft picks. In November of 2020, the NFL made a ruling that if any team hired a minority or GM or head coach, their previous employer would receive 2 draft picks, although they would have to be there at their previous employment for at least 2 full seasons. Last season, the Bears drafted rookie quarterback Justin Fields in the first round. They also have offensive line issues, and their best receiver, Allen Robinson, is a free agent. The Bears also have to decide if they want to keep their best player, Khalil Mack, or trade him away. Mack won the 2016 Defensive Player of the Year. Much like Joe Schoen, Poles has his work cut out for him. Chicago also does not have a first-round pick this season as they traded it away when they drafted Ohio State product Justin Fields. The Bears have struggled recently and have yet to win a playoff game since 2010. Since their Super Bowl 41 trip back in 2007, they have gone 1-3 in the postseason and have only won the NFC North twice. The Bears are currently in a rebuild, but if they have a good offseason, sign the right players, and have a good draft, they could be tenders in the NFC again. And if the Packers do trade Aaron Rodgers this offseason, the Bears have a great chance of winning the NFC North in 2022. The Vikings have also hired a new GM. On Wednesday, it was first reported by ESPN's Adam Schefter that the Vikings hired Browns VP of Football Operations, Kwesi Aldolfo Mensah, as their next GM. Cameron Wolfe on NFL Network reported that the contract is worth $12 million over the next 4 years. Aldolfo Mensah replaces Rick Spielman, who had been the GM of the Vikings since 2012 and went 132, 123, and 2 during his tenure in Minnesota. Much like the Chiefs, the Browns will now receive 2 compensatory draft picks with the new NFL minority ruling. In November of 2020, the NFL made a ruling that if any team hired a minority as GM or head coach, their previous employee would receive 2 draft picks, although they would have to be at their previous employment for at least 2 full seasons. This is what Vikings co-owner and team president Mark Wilf had to say about the new GM. We are thrilled to welcome Kwesi to the Minnesota Vikings. His unique background, variety of strong football experiences, vision for success, and leadership presents immediately stood out to us. Kwesi is a natural, committed, and driven to building the best teams through consensus building and the pursuit of information. We believe that he will immediately make us better as a team and organization. Aldolfo Mensah was a Princeton and Stanford graduate. He received a bachelor's degree and master's degree in economics. Before he was in the NFL, he was an associate portfolio manager at Taylor Woods Capital Management in Connecticut. In 2013, he was hired by the Niners as a manager of football research and development from 2013 until 2017. In 2019, he was then promoted to director of football research and development. In 2020, he was hired by the Browns to be the VP of football operations. Aldolfo Mensah was hired to work under Browns GM Andrew Berry. Berry was thrilled when Aldolfo Mensah was hired and congratulated him on Wednesday. Aldolfo Mensah was even a basketball player at Princeton. Him and Ryan Poles were the finals for the job. However, Poles took the Bears' job on Tuesday night before his second interview with the organization. After being hired by the Vikings, this is what Aldolfo Mensah had to say. I'm extremely thankful to the Will family and the Vikings organization for giving me the opportunity to lead our football operations and join this respected franchise. There is so much to appreciate about this organization and existing nucleus of talent on the roster, top-notch facilities, passionate fans, and smart people throughout the building who are committed to winning. I look forward to partnering with our next head coach and our entire football operations staff to begin our work of bringing a Super Bowl to the Vikings fans. He also interviewed for the Panthers GM job last season and the Bears GM job this year. The Vikings have the 12th pick in this year's draft. The Vikings have some big decisions to make this offseason as well. First, Aldolfo Mensah has to hire a coach. The Vikings fired Mike Zimmer after 8 seasons. They also have to decide if they want to keep quarterback Kirk Cousins. He is owed a lot of money this season, and he's only won 1 playoff game in his tenure with the Vikings. Minnesota has interviewed several candidates for the head coaching job, but at the moment, there are no front-runners according to reports. The Vikings have missed the playoffs the last 2 years, and they hope this season they can rebound and return to the postseason. Minnesota has not made the Super Bowl since 1976 and is desperately trying to get back to one. And finally, the Las Vegas Raiders have hired a new GM. On Saturday night, it was reported that the Raiders had hired Dave Ziegler as their new general manager, replacing Mike Mayock, who was fired 2 weeks ago. Ziegler was previously in New England as the director of player personnel. He has been in New England the last 9 years as an assistant director of pro scouting, then director of pro personnel, and later promoted to director of player personnel in 2021. From 2019 to 2012, Ziegler was in Denver as a scout. He was also an assistant in high school and college and even was at his alma mater for a few years. He was a great receiver and special teams player at John Carroll University. Dave Ziegler went to John Carroll University and was teammates with Josh McDaniels, who is now the Raiders' new head coach. Although McDaniels has yet to sign the contract, but according to multiple reports, he's very close to signing one. Ziegler was part of the Patriots' the last 3 Super Bowl victories in 2014, 2016, and 2018. Ziegler and McDaniels are good friends and will work closely with each other in Vegas. He is one of the reasons why the Patriots made the playoffs this year after missing it in 2020. Last season, the Raiders went 10-7 and made the postseason for the first time since 2016. However, they lost to the eventual AFC champions, the Bengals, in the wildcard round 26-19. After the loss to the Bengals in the playoffs, they fired GM Mike Mayock. This next season, the Raiders will be expected to make the playoffs again, despite having to play Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and Aaron Rodgers possibly twice a year. Both Ziegler and McDaniels will try to prove that Patriots assistants can actually succeed without Bill Belichick.